For anybody out there listening, I'd like to welcome Dan Harding, creator of the Angry Veterans podcast. I'm sorry, the Angry Veteran podcast,
Angry veteran, yes sir.
and to this edition of the Exciting Times.
Howdy do.
Uh, so, first of all, I need to say, cheers to you, happy birthday,
All right, on.
and almost more importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I know that you are a veteran. Um,
Out the back of it. That's how big these missiles were. And when we went and practiced, they hit the mountain like a telephone pole would hit the mountain. Like it was crazy, you know. But I learned a bunch, and I matured, and I went from E4 corporal back lateral transfer to specialist. They had it taken away from me because they didn't need that rank in that unit. Then 30 days later, because I got so mad, I turned a bunch of points in. It's like I'm throwing points at them left and right. I'm doing classes. I'm doing studies. I'm doing homework. I'm turning points in, man. I'm turning points in. Now, 30 days later, I get the call. Hey, I made cutoff. You're getting promoted to E5 sergeant. Oh my God! Finally, I made sergeant. Now I just had my knee surgery done because I got down in Stanley and was like, I gotta get this knee fixed. It's killing me. And I just had an ACL surgery done, a hamstring graft. So I was recovering, and they called me up on my back. This is like the very early stages of cell phones when Nokia had the big brick phones.
yeah.
And I was laid up in the barracks on convalescent leave, and I had my brick phone, and they called me up. Hey, Sergeant, you want to get your promotion done today, or you want to wait till you get off of convalescent leave? I was like, oh no, 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 I will be down there today. I may not be in full uniform, but I will be there on crutches. And I hobbled my butt down the side of a mountain with one leg and crutches to get promoted E5 that day.
Where were you located when that happened?
That was Camp Stanley, Korea. We Jambu.
Did you when I hear World War II veterans talk about stuff like the Battle of Midway, I sometimes hear them refer to while they were stationed there, they learned martial arts. Crazy because of the folks they were stationed with.
Right.
Did you experience anything like that? Did you come out of
Absolutely.
there
Absolutely. That's Army
kind of like a
standard,
ninja?
sir. That is Army standard. I am trained in 5 different arts. My first art was wrestling when I was a kid. I got tired of getting beat up as a kid, so I did something about it and took wrestling classes.
Very
Uh,
American.
my right, very American. My second art is boxing. I got you can only wrestle and beat up somebody with wrestling so much. You got to be able to punch, you know. So
The English
I got
style.
into that, and then when I got into the military and I got stationed in Korea, my first year, you can't leave the country unless you achieve minimum yellow belt taekwondo. They will hold you in country until you qualify yellow belt taekwondo. You cannot leave country as a white belt, and you come in there as a white belt. Yellow belt's the very first belt. So that's the first degree of taekwondo. You can't leave the country if you don't make that. By the time I left, I was a third Dan yellow belt. I just kept making them, making them, making them, making them, making them, making them over and over and
And
over
are
again.
you learning from all sorts of different people, or are they like okay, this is your
No,
the fixer for the local area?
it's a group that travel from post to post. That you have class once a week on your installation, and it's usually a company wide class. So they do mass. Everybody gets the same promotion at the same time. Everybody's getting your yellow belt today because you all took the class exactly the same amount of time, and yada yada yada. And you don't have to come back. You know, I kept coming back, so I just kept
Give me more.
perfecting it. And then they pulled me aside after a while and was like, "You're done perfecting. You need to learn more art." So I started learning even more about the art of Taekwondo. I got into Aikido. I got into Jiu-Jitsu. I got into a little bit of capoeira. Back when I had some moves about me and
I've seen
I
that
could
stuff.
dance.
I like that stuff.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Like I'll dance you side by side, but I'll be beating you up
I
the
hear
whole time I'm dancing next to you.
I hear the capoeiristas down in Rio de Janeiro put razor blades in their toes when
They
they do
do.
the kicking.
They do. It
That's
is,
some
and they do
crazy
shows
stuff.
though. They do shows, uh, 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 public display shows where they shadow box each other, so to speak, in their art. You know, so they're twirling kicks, and they're literally like half an inch from the dude's face. Like that is amazing. The discipline you have to have
Yeah.
to perform a move of that high caliber at such precision, and I always envied that. So
Absolutely.
and then later on in my military career, I went back to my roots and I got back into boxing. and I became a member of the All American boxing team out of Fort Bragg, and that was interesting. I got my butt whooped a lot. I didn't realize having a big nose in boxing was so detrimental because everybody kept wanting to break that thing every chance they got.
A lot of the vets that I've had a chance to talk to usually mention camaraderie in the military. What role did brotherhood play during your service?
It's everything, dude. Literally from day one. Dude, I wasn't even in the military yet. I So you have to go to a location called MEPS before you get to your basic training unit to do basic training. And MEPS is a medical something something something, but it's a processing center. Medical, I don't know what the E is. Processing center. It's where you go and they strip you down, examine your body, make sure you're not a broken or weirdo with third leg or something. You know, you make sure you don't have any kind of scabies or diseases. You know,
You're not flat-footed.
right? You're not flat footed. Make sure you can duck walk. They make you bend over and test everything. Make sure everything's working. They give you eye exams, find out if you're colorblind or not, hearing tests, et cetera, and then from there, that takes about a week usually. From there, you go to your basic training unit. When you get to your basic training unit, you go to what is known as a pre-basic or holdover, waiting for the cycle in front of you to end to release those drill sergeants so they can come and pick you up to start your basic training. So it's usually about a 2 week holdover before you even get to basic training. Now, these guys in here aren't really drill sergeants. They're called cadre, but you still have to call them drill sergeants because you're there in preparation for boot camp. But they're cadre with honesty. That's what you should call them. Like when I went back there to do some work, I walk up, hey, what's up, cadre? Oh, what's up, specialist? Blah, blah, blah. Like no big deal.
Is the mood like you're already in training, or is it actually a little relaxed because you're about to
No,
get into it?
no, it's as soon as you get there, you're in full blown. This is basic training,
Got it.
but it's pre-basic to get you ready for basic. So this is where you learn how to spit shine your boots. This is where you learn how to your cuff roll your sleeves. This is where you learn how to iron the creases in specific patterns on your uniform so that you don't get gigged during an inspection.
They call it kindergarten when you get there.
No, no, that might be a Marine thing. Not my. I went to infantry basic in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I went Delta 254, Sand Hill, one of the Hell's Kitchen, one of the most hardcorest infantry units you can ever be trained by. Is where I went to basic training, and I did it in the middle of August when it's 120 degrees and the air is so thick you can cut it with a butter knife.
They keep you hydrated, or do they let
Oh
you get
no,
headaches?
there's a reason I don't drink water. Why do you think I always have coffee or a Mountain Dew in my hand? You never see me with a bottle of water unless I'm really. You see, I get really ill nowadays because I'm old and my heart's failing and I got other problems. So now I sit down and you throw me a bottle of water, I'll just slam it. But when do you naturally see me walk around with water? Never, never, ever. Because in basic training in the middle of August, Fort Benning, Georgia, everybody's dropping like flies and they force feed water down your throat until you throw up. And then they make you drink more until you throw up. And they try to overhydrate you so you know what it's like to have too much hydration versus too little hydration. So they starve you of water, almost kill you, then pump you with so much water you get hydromatic, where you get sick from water.
Are you taking electrolyte pills while they're doing this stuff?
No, you're eating chow. So whatever salt and pepper or nutrients that the chow ladies put in the chow, that's the nutrients you're getting. And almost always, for some freaking unknown reason, and I think we all knew exactly what the reason was, they put saltpeter in our food. Makes it extra salty.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it prevents
Things.
things
Yeah.
from taking place.
I didn't know that they really did that.
Yeah,
I always
and when
thought
you
that
got
was a wives' tale.
when you got 55
Funny.
guys in one room for a period of 8 to 16 weeks at a time, you don't want things to happen.
Yeah.
Now, from MEPS to basic training, I was the platoon leader. I was the guy in charge. So our recruiters, now we're getting on a bus in Medford. Medford's about an hour, almost an hour drive from here, south. I get to Medford, right? And I load up on the bus. And I'm sitting down. And the recruiter comes in and says, Hardy, stand up. I come forward. And he's like, here's the clipboard. Here's all the information, medical packets for everybody on the bus. You're in charge. You are now the squad leader. So take charge and be in charge. I'm a freaking car thief and gangbanger, dude. I had gang tattoos. I'm a car thief, drug addict, drug dealer, gangbanger. Why in the heck would you put me in charge of anything?
When in Rome, though.
Right?
So if you just
So
step up.
for some reason, instantly, something in me snapped. And it was like, I don't know if it was a power trip thing that happened real quick, like, oh my God, I'm powerful, I'm in charge, you know? Like something happened in my head that made me instantly mature up and go, oh, wait a minute. I'm now responsible for 55 other souls besides my own. Now that puts a different kind of feeling in my gut. You know, I've got a kid at home that gives me one kind of, I'm responsible for him and I have to take care of him kind of feeling. But these guys are directly in my face every day. I got to make sure they eat and sleep and don't get drunk and don't party too much and don't. I got to watch these guys. So from the moment I got on the bus,
Mildly parent-like.
all the way through MEPS, I get to pre-basic training. Guess who called pre-basic training to inform them who he felt needed to stay squad leader? Yeah. So as soon as I get there, they're like, "Oh, Harding, we already heard about you. Yeah, here's some." They gave me a E6 stripes, plated in gold. They're for Class A's. Pin me on my chest, my left breast. Bam. Here's your rank. You're now in charge. You're in charge of all these 55 souls. Make sure they eat every day. And when it comes to training time, we will train you. You will train them. They fail our training, it's your behind. And they weren't nice when they said the words. Roger. So I'm in charge. So now I learned how to spit shine boots. Now I'd already known how to do this because my dad was Air Force and he trained me from childhood. I already knew how to do most of this stuff, to include march. Dad used to march me around like a little toy soldier for some reason when I was a kid. I guess he was practicing, I don't know. But so I already knew how to do 90% of everything they were trying to teach us. So I already had the one up on all these other dudes. You know what I'm saying? And there was 53 of them from right here in Oregon, and there was 2 of them that came in from Alabama. Now let me give you the demographics of early 1990s. 53 white guys from Oregon that all kind of know each other or know of each other because we all kind of went to school and high school around the same time and we all played against each other in football or interacted in some way, like we hung out in the streets. Everyone kind of knew everyone a little bit. And then you get 2 guys from Alabama that are not white. They are cool as hell. Because those were the 2 guys that I hung out with 90% of my basic training. You know, anytime we had a moment to breathe, I'm hanging out. I'm shooting the shit with these dudes. These other guys, the reason I didn't hang out with the white guys as much, and mind you, people, I'm a white guy. I'm Viking.
Viking.
I didn't hang out with the white people because they just, I don't know if it was the infantry that made them this way or the reason they are infantry. They were mostly dumber than boxes of rocks. They had very low IQs. I do not. I have a very, very high IQ. I was in the who's who of academics as a freshman in high school, for goodness sake. I had a 6-page biography on me. I have a very high intelligence.
Except for the guys in charge, does the military tend to keep people of similar varieties together, similar intelligence levels?
Correct. And that's the way the military works. So there was a strain in the brotherhood, because this initial question is about brotherhood, if I remember.
Yes.
Okay. The strain that happened because you took a tight knit group of people and injected ethnicity into it that it's not accustomed to seeing or being around. It is just not that way in Oregon or in Southern Oregon specifically. It is mostly of Caucasus. You know, it's Caucasus. It's not ethnic. And so when you injected it, I thought it was a genius idea on the military's behalf because it forces you to get out of that one-way mindset.
Monoculture.
Right. And develop into a better human being. That you don't judge a person by their color, you judge them by the content of their character.
It is very mind expanding to see other cultures.
It is.
Other cultures.
Extremely. So the brotherhood that I miss when I got out of the military, that camaraderie of, I don't care what you look like. We're both green. We wear the pickle suit, same color pickle suit, right? We both bleed red. That's all that matters. Now, if you're a butt munch, I'm trying my hardest not to use military terms and foul language, but if you're a butt munch, then I'm not going to hang out with you because I don't like you. I don't like the content of your character. You lie too much. You steal too much. You do this. You deceive people, and you pull me in on your sneaky ideas, and I'm just not going to hang with you. You know what I mean? These two guys over here, they're truthful, they're honest, they're upfront, they're always willing to throw a hand in and help, no matter what it is. I'm like, yo, I want to hang out with these guys. These guys make me feel better. I want these guys in my foxhole. I want a guy I know isn't going to turn cut tail and run. He's going to jump on that frag if he has to. He's going to be courageous, or he's going to pick it up and throw it and gut through it. That's the guy I want next to me. Now, when you get out of the military, they don't give you that. They don't teach you how to get that in the civilian world. They give you a piece of paper. Here's your DD 214 and a kick in the butthole. Boop, there you go. That's what you get. Here's the VA's number. And you struggle for the rest of your life pretty much looking for that camaraderie.
Well, then moving back from to the civilian life from the military, what were some of the things that helped you find your footing?
Motorcycles. I'm a biker.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in a Hell's Angel environment with my grandmother. My grandfather went to prison for murder. My grandmother remarried and married a Hell's Angel and owned a Hell's Angels bar. And so I grew up in the bar. My grandparents raised me. My mom and dad were separated and divorced. My dad had custody, and he was always in the Air Force, deployed out somewhere doing stuff. So I was always raised by grandma and grandpa. And grandpa went to prison, and I got a new grandpa. And that new grandpa was a mean SOB. Big fat, hairy, tattooed everywhere. Stunk to high heaven. Always smelled like burnt gasoline. All the time. Hands were always black and mucky. And he always wore the same tarnished, tattered jean cut.
You said he was a big dude.
Big dude. And that was my grandpa. So I was not raised very well. But when I got out of the military, I had motorcycles. And I started hanging out in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I met these dudes. And he was like, yo, I want you to meet my partner. We're starting up a motorcycle club. You want to join? I was like, what's it called? And he told me, and I was like, what's it about? And he's like, well, it's about black, white, and everything in between. Our colors are literally black, silver, and white in that pattern because we don't see color. We see character. I'm like, yo, I want in. So I was the token white guy in a 5-man group creating an MC in Fayetteville, North Carolina in February 2003. March, we had cuts made. May, we picked them up and went straight to Bike Week. And that was our first real official act as a motorcycle club together as a brotherhood. You know, we hung out at Bike Week, man. It didn't get any better than that. That was the quintessential pinnacle moment where it was like everything I've ever worked for has finally paid off because I have real brothers next to me. People I know I can trust my family's lives with if I need to. I know that they'll be fine, you know? And it stayed like that for about 10 years.
When was that?
That was about 2003 till I got out of the military in 2013. So it was about 10-year span of life where I was in an MC, and for about 8 years of that span, me and my homeboy, Baby Boy, who I served with in the same platoon and everything, he was my vice president, and I was the president because everybody else had deployed out. Because remember, we're all military at the time when we made this in '03. I didn't get released from service until '07. So I'm doing the MC thing undercover in the military, right? But everybody else is getting deployed out. This guy's going to this country. This guy's going to this country. This guy's going to this state. This guy's getting over here. Now it's just me and Baby Boy. 04 comes, he gets out. Okay, now it's still just me and Baby Boy. He's working a civilian job. I'm in the military. I deploy. It's just Baby Boy. I come back because I'm blown up. I got messed up over in Iraq, and I'm all had to relearn how to ride motorcycles again, but I had to relearn a bunch of things and get back on my feet. But it was just me and then people started coming back. Either they were getting out of the military or they were PCSing back, or and then we went from having a total of about 12 people down to two, down to one, back to two, up to I think our max number was like 39 people in one chapter. It was a big chapter. You know what I mean? And right now, we are an international club. We are a national club, and I am still considered a founding member of the club. So I can still throw the cut on and rock it just about any daggone where I want to.
Very cool.
With the permission of my other brothers, of course. I would always hit them up first and be like, yo, is it all right if I do such and such? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So I got respect like that.
And so after the military, you just were just right up in there
Right,
still.
right up in there. Just stayed with it. I just maintained that camaraderie. Then it got to a point where my vices became overpowering, and I could not defend my wit
Well, that's
against the vices, and I had to get away.
it's interesting because I was considering, I was going to ask you how have you found new ways to channel the discipline and the determination that you developed when you were in the military? But yeah, I thought you were kind of answering that when you're talking about the bike club. But
Yeah.
now you mentioned that it was through the bike club that you started running
Getting
off the rails.
That's
So
right. I started getting my vices became overpowering me. I couldn't. I lost my wit, and I did some not necessarily good things that I would consider good things for good humans to do. Um, and I realized I could see the writing on the wall. I could see the flaws in my life, and I had to get away. If I didn't get away, I was gonna end up dead or in prison. So I picked up my family and I moved out here to Oregon, back home where I was raised. So I was raised right over there in Merlin. Went to North Valley High School, um, and
well, that definitely seems like it would take a lot of discipline if you're in a using state of mind to take yourself out of that.
now, mind you, at the time, I was a Percocet addict for 17 years. Percocet, methadone, stuff like that.
Did the military help you out with the need
That
for the medicine?
Yeah, it was the military that got me addicted on it. After my knee surgery, they just kept feeding me Percocet, and it got to the point where I was taking two 10 milligram Percocets every 2 to 4 hours, and I was taking two methadone 12-hour tablets every 12 hours. Like, that's enough medication to drop a horse.
Yeah, it sounds kind of
And I'm walking
rough.
around partying, riding motorcycles at almost 200 miles an hour on back roads in the state of North Carolina. US 1, I can tell you, is a heck of a road.
You really do have a guardian angel, don't you?
Oh, you have no clue, man. I've flown hundreds of feet off of my motorcycle after wrecking. Get up, or somebody woke me up. I had so much adrenaline, bent something back out of the way so I could move my handlebars. Started my bike, and with a warped front tire, rode that bike all the way home after suffering a catastrophic accident that I should not have been able to walk away from.
So after you picked your
And that
family
made my heart
up,
racing just thinking about it.
take a deep breath.
Yeah.
After you after you got your family back over there and got yourself out of that situation,
I lost my camaraderie.
what did you how did you recover that? What did you do to
Well, I suffered loneliness for a long time, and then I seen here in Grants Pass. That's where I live, and I seen a guy riding with a patch. It wasn't a 3-piece patch, so it wasn't a 1%er club. It wasn't an outlaw. 1-piece patch in the MC world means it's a family club. It's not really a club. It's a family organization.
dude, letting
and,
you know,
and
no
it was
bottom rockers.
no bottom rockers. We ain't here to step on nobody's toes. We ain't about that life. It was a single piece patch with a skull in the middle, and it caught my eye, and it said CVMA. And I googled that up on the phone real quick, and it's Combat Motorcycle Veterans Association. I was like, oh, a brotherhood, and it's not in the MC world, so I can stay away from the vices. So I went and got up with him, and he had just got into town, moved up from Las Vegas, and he had met another veteran that rides out in Rogue River, and then he had just met me, and he's like, dude, this is perfect. It takes 3 members to start a chapter. all I need to see is your DD 214 and $200 for the cut. You're in. I was
Nice.
like, sweet. So me and Jumpstart and D-Day were the first three founding members of CVMA 29-3 in Rogue River, Oregon. And I did that for about 4 years. And I realized that it's because it's not an MC, but plays in the MC realm, there's a lot of backstabbing that happens. A lot of, I don't hang out with you on a regular basis, so I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm going to ban you for 6 months from wearing your cut because you said some bad words to a friend of mine. You said you're going to kick a friend of mine's teeth in. Well, you can't do that, so I'm gonna make sure you don't wear your cut for 6 months. You're on suspension. I'm like, you didn't hear the whole conversation then. He said I was doing such and such, and that he was going to do such and such. And I said, you try that, and I'll kick your teeth in. So it was a retaliation to his attack at me. He's like, yeah, but I don't know you, so I need your cut. Like, that rubbed me the wrong way. I did my 6 months time. I paid for it. I put the cut back on after 6 months, and I tried my hardest to hold on because I'm a loyal individual. I tried my hardest to hold on. Maybe I can implement some change. Maybe I can go up in the ranks and fix this. And I just kept getting railroaded left and right, left and right. So finally, I just called a meeting. I need everybody here because I'm the president. Everybody show up. So everybody showed up to the meeting. And I said, F you, F you, F you, F you. You're cool, you're cool. F you, F you, F you, F you. Took my cut off, cut the patches off, threw the patches on the table, said, paid for this, I'm keeping it. Y'all keep your patches. I walked out. From there, I again went back to being lonely, no brotherhood. And then I started hanging out with another MC. I'm going to leave that MC unnamed, but it's a one percenter outlaw club doing bad things. That's just what they do. That's their lifestyle. You know what I mean? And I was talking about just now. It was a good conversation.
Well, let me ask you this though. If you
Oh,
can,
Brotherhood. I remember. Hold on. I remember Brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood is the outlaw club. I hung out with them for a while and prospected and did some things and didn't like it and felt horrible. And my vices became overpowering once again very quickly. Very, 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 very quickly. And I was trying to build a new family. I was dating this gal that had a couple kids, and I was like, hey, I got a couple kids. You got, like, what you doing? You know, so I'm trying to build a family, but I realized I can't build a good family and be out in the streets doing these bad things. So I made a decision. And I made that decision after I married her, and she adopted my kids. And I was like, she adopted my babies. She's real about this. This is real. This ain't gonna be no 4 year marriage. This is legit. So I gave up that club and I patched out. I was like, hey, at the meeting, I respectfully folded it and handed it over with due respect, and I got you're welcome back anytime kind of respect. You know, the door's always open. You know, we're sorry to see you go. And I was like, gotta do what I gotta do. And then loneliness kicked in again. And then I was reading a book, Masons for Dummies, and I've owned this book since 2003, and I've read it so many times, and I just kept reading it and reading it and reading it. And finally, I was like, what in the world is stopping me from finding a local lodge and asking? To be one is to ask.
Now, where are you when this happened?
Grants Pass, Oregon. And I decided I'm going to go down to my local lodge and I'm going to knock on the door. I see that they have hours at this specific time. So I went down at that specific time and the door was open.
Well, so okay, so that's
went in.
that's what you did, but what drew you to it? What made
Well,
you want to come down there?
before my grandfather went to prison for murder, he was a Mason. Um, I have Masons in my family lineage, and I have friends that are Masons that I always said I'm gonna be like that guy. My buddy Tut, I'm gonna call you out, man. I'm gonna call you out, homie. You're getting name dropped right now, bro. Tutman is his name. And we called him King Tut. That was his road name. And he's a high yellow brother from Boston, you know. And well, not Boston. He's from, excuse me. It's not Boston. It's the other place. Baltimore. house music. You know what I mean? That oonks, 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 oonks.
I
That's
have
his
some. I
favorite
have
thing,
some favorite hits there
right?
too.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, he was a Mason, man, and him and my warrant officer were Masons, and I would watch these guys. And Tut's my boy. We started the club together, like the initial club. He's the one that my homeboy said you got to go meet Two Face. He's like, you got to go meet my boy Tut, and I met Tut at Burger King, out in Rayford. And I was like, me and him, we're like two brothers from another mother, and we tell each other that, like, what's up, I'm brother from another mother, and we use other words, but we're boys. And I always wanted to be like Tut. Tut, I always wanted to be like him. So I remember my grandpa, and I see my friends. Now I'm here, and I'm lonely, and I've tried the bike thing over and over again, and it's kind of getting worn out. It's a worn out pattern. I'm getting nowhere. I got to make a drastic change. Well, what way can I become a better man? Then go join a fraternity that actually has it in their motto, making good men better men.
That's what I was wondering about when you said that because my grandpa was a Mason, and from what I've heard, Freemasonry like emphasizes growth and improvement. So did you find that to be the case?
Oh yes, absolutely. Um, I got off of all those vices. I dropped pills. I dropped everything else I was doing in a negative light. Uh, Cleaned my act up. I bought better clothing. I started doing better clothing shopping.
Get a top
So
hat.
yeah, I got a top hat. I actually have one. I
Nice.
got a top hat.
Nice.
I got a top hat.
Not enough people do.
No, I agree. I agree. And it. So I upgraded myself. My wife saw the change in me, so she also assisted in upgrading me. So I've got more tasteful clothing and more tasteful look, appearance about myself. I don't look so street driven like a dirty outsider could be.
Do you see any connection between Freemasonry and the I don't know like ethos that you found in the military that
Very similar.
kept you on
The
track?
way the way I try to look at it is knowing what I know now. The country was built by Masons. The military was built by the men that built this country, which are, quote, Masons. So when we're marching in drill and ceremony, we're in a group and we're marching forward and they say, left turn, march. You pivot, you turn. You know where to step, when to step, how to pivot, on what step to step, and what breath to do it on because it's drilled into you and it's trained. Now, when you go into masonry, there's a similarity to that in some of the work that we do to remind ourselves and remind our brothers that we are always learning and always improving. So when you enter on the perfect point of the square. It's a square, you ask. That's a 90-degree angle. So when you're pivoting, march left, you're pivoting on that right foot to your left, making the angle of a perfect square. Interesting. Now, also, when you're standing at position of attention in the military, hands down at your sides, feet in a squared position. Us Masons, we live by the square. We stand in that same facet that the military does. And a lot of how we talk and what we do in Masonry reflects directly that of the United States military. And I can't speak to all branches as much as I can speak to the Army, but I can tell you that we have multiple of every single branch to include the Coast Guard in my lodge. Every branch. We've got Army, Navy, too many Marines if you ask me. Love you guys, crown eaters. And a couple Army guys. I think I'm one of two,
That
maybe.
is pretty cool.
A lot of Navy guys, though.
That is pretty cool. Um, well, I don't want to ask you too much about your Masonic life. I know that's personal for people.
Hey, we're not a secret fraternity or society. We are a fraternity or society with secrets. So you can ask all you want. Some things I just won't answer. That's all.
Let me ask you this. It's a little change of the subject, but for those who don't understand what it's like to go through military service or the sacrifices that you went through, is there anything that you wish they knew? Just the cities, I guess, that you defended their freedom?
It irritates me when I get called dirty names because I'm a veteran and I'm a Republican. Now I'm not a hardcore Republican. I don't lean all the way right. I don't believe in some of the things that they talk about, but I'm definitely not Democrat. I like some, but very little of the Democratic policies. So I'm kind of in between the fence when it comes to the political scene, but I lean on the red side. And I don't like being called names just because of the way I have my opinion or my thoughts.
Do you experience that?
Yes, yes, I do. Especially being, I'm, how can I say this without, I can't say, all I can say is yes, I do experience it almost on a regular, every single day, daily rate. Yes, daily,
Wow.
daily. And there's certain things I'm not allowed to say or share on social webs out of fear of retaliation from said individuals.
I don't mean to sound facetious, but does that mean that you live too close to the city and not far enough
Yeah,
out in the woods?
that's how I feel, honestly. But
um,
I just don't like the what I want the civilian populace to know. Okay, the question is, what do you want them to know, given my military experience? I sacrificed my life. I got blown up in Iraq, and I don't even know how long I was dead before they found me and brought me back. I was in a coma for quite some time. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. My cognitive skills are damaged beyond repair. Minor repairs have been happening. It's been almost 20 years now, and I can remember up to like four numbers instead of one or two.
well, you can't tell that from this side of the table.
Appreciate it. There's still cognitive issues that I deal with daily, anxiety, PTSD, stuff like that. And what I want the civilian populace to know is, not only did my friends die for this, I sacrificed my natural born abilities for this ability for you to stand there and talk to me like you're an ignorant SOB, because that's what you sound like. But guess what? That's your God given American right that I fought so you could do. So good on you for speaking your mind.
Must take a lot not to put the smack down, though,
Oh, you just got to kill him with kindness, brother. You got to tell him, hey, I'm proud of you for calling me names right now because you're speaking your opinion. And in a Nazi communist world that could have happened, you would be executed right now for speaking your mind. So thank you for proving what I did was actually worth something.
yeah, there's a lot of places it's not like that.
It's not.
I feel sorry for my friends over in Great Britain right now.
A lot of people.
Crazy stuff
Yeah.
happening. If your kin ever ends up hearing this, is there anything that you would like to say to them?
Join the military. Support your country. Always support your country because you live in it. You're born in it. It's a heritage that's handed down to you. If you're born here, that means you have heritage here. Heritage means more than one generation on land. All right. So if your parents came from Ireland but birthed you here, you are now generational American. Okay. You're not African American. You're not Caucasian American. You're not North American. You're generational American. You're an American, straight up, period. Anybody that tells you different doesn't know what they're talking about. Just be proud of being an American. Be proud. Around the world, we're looked at like a-holes and idiots because they see our TV, they hear our music, and they think we are a joke and we're arrogant. And half the time, I'm thinking most of the world is right.
I think we have a lot of problems, but I meet people every day that are trying to do the right thing. So it definitely, I have hope. This is a really great spot to end it, but what we always do on this show is take some questions the from the audience. So I have a couple off the wall questions that don't really pertain to anything we've really talked about. You mind if we
Not at all.
ask you a couple random ones?
This,
Um,
this is great stuff, by the way. Great stuff.
okay, well, so I don't know the people that wrote these questions, but I know that they come from the audience at large. how realistic is it to expect civilians to be prepared for a large-scale societal collapse or a doomsday event?
I talk about this regularly. This is why I invented my podcast. Is exactly that question right there.
Again, this is the creator of Angry Veteran Podcast, Dan Harding. But anyways, you're saying?
I created that my podcast name and came up with the idea because I see so many civilians that are absolutely ill prepared for the end of society. So if electricity stops right now, okay, gasoline stops right now, there are zero groceries in your grocery store. You cannot go to a building and find slabs of raw, good, not rotten meat, right? Or canned goods that you can possibly live on for a short period of time. You're not going to find that much of anywhere because your brothers next to you and the right of you are going to be shooting people to try to get their hands on it for their family. So now you're in a fighting war. You got to stock up on your weapons. How many civilians here have more than one gun at home? How many civilians here even have one gun? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are more than 2 million veterans in the United States of America. Guaranteed. 90% of those veterans are armed. We've got more guns in the United States of America owned by good people than by the government themselves. And that's what the civilian people don't understand is the power of unity. Learn how to feed yourself when there's nothing to give you anything. Take yourself out of the city, put yourself in the woods, learn how to make fire on your own. Learn what plants on the ground you can put in your mouth without dying from poison, right? Learn how to set traps. Learn how to snare. Learn how to wild fish with a spear. Learn these things. These are techniques that will allow you to survive and those dependent upon you.
All right. Okay. This comes from Red, White, and Who, apparently. Do you think humans are ready to meet non-human entities, or ones that are more advanced than us?
So I want to say, as a global populace, because I've been on every continent with the exception of Antarctica, I've seen every walk of life from African, multiple different types of African, to multiple different types of South Asian, to multiple different types of Scandinavian, to European, to Middle Eastern, even Australian. And I can tell you, as a whole, no. The planet itself is still in so much religious turmoil that people are killing each other in mass genocidal quantities because they believe in a different name for the same being that they both worship. And that is our detriment and our downfall as a society on this globe as a whole. If aliens show up, bro, it's going to erase thousands of years of religious text out the window. All of a sudden, God didn't create us in his image. There's aliens out there. Maybe they transitioned our DNA back 200,000 years ago to make us who we are today. Maybe we're just a big lab rat experiment in their petri dish called Earth. Who knows? But that question is what will cause turmoil on the planet, that of which the planet's never experienced, second to the actual dinosaur extinction of the Grand Dryas. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some of us that wish aliens would come because I believe in them. I believe in ancient alien theory. I'm a scientist. I'm an astrophysicist. I've been to school. I study all the time. It intrigues me to no end. And the ideology that there is no other being in the entire known universe that could exist other than you is the most humanly arrogant ideal ever thunk of in all of humankind.
There's been a lot of activity lately in the media showing us from people seeing stuff in the sky to drones. And
It's happening
they
more
say
frequently.
They call them UAPs because
Yeah.
they're crazy types of drones. Um, it could be that the landlords are coming back. It could be some advanced civilization that's already here. It could be that we're being evaluated to see if we can join the Galactic
Collective.
Committee or
Yeah,
whatever
the
it's called.
galactic collective.
But
Are we
it's
are we like Star Trek? Are we technologically advanced enough to say, okay, we can now become a intergalactic
yeah,
society?
and
Right now, we're just a solar society,
that would give you hope.
and that's even a barely solar society because the moon's that far away from the Earth in comparison to how far it is from Jupiter. It's like that close. We've only gone as far as the moon, so we're not even a solar
Yeah,
society yet,
I
really.
mean, that would give you hope that there's some advanced older cousins that are welcoming and trying to bring us into a higher level civilization. The logistics of it are scary in light of the fact of where we all are culturally and with ourselves, considering how similar we are and how we tend to highlight our differences
Well, I
for
got
some
the
reason.
perfect answer for you, brother. Got the perfect answer.
Please, I'm looking for like
This is
I'm
the way it
seeking.
was
I'm a seeker.
explained to me by my physicist. Okay, when I asked a very similar question, and he said, and I quote, "Imagine digging up and quarantining an ant hive, 100 billion trillion ants trapped in a container. You scoop it out of the ground.
So first, there's the urge to fill it with metal and
There
look
is
at
the
the
urge to
art.
do that and make the art. That is cool as heck. But now that goes to the same point that I'm trying to make right now. That is what you would do with an ant mound, right? That's how
Scary.
intelligent you are. Yeah, you have the intelligence to smelt metal into a liquid and pour it into their home
To make art out of death.
to make art out of their corpses.
Yeah,
Now,
essentially.
imagine you're doing this to this ant hive, and all of a sudden an alien comes down who sees you as an ant hive. Are you going to be able to take an ant from that ant hive and try to teach that ant the laws of physics? It's going to be out of his grasp. This ant is never going to be able to acknowledge that even I exist as a human or he exists as an ant because he's too minuscule. Now, this alien, who knows way more than we do, shows up and sees us the same way we saw the ants. What do you think they're going to do to us?
Well, I don't know,
Are
but
they going to exterminate us like we exterminate
it
the
sounds you're
ants?
lucky if you end up in an ant farm.
Yeah. You see, this is why, and I'm telling you guys because a, I was in the military for a while, and I had some high clearances. That's all I can really get at there. I can tell you with full certainty that there is a very specific reason why this is just now minorly becoming public knowledge and very slowly being fed to the world society as a whole. Because our movies we make in Hollywood don't just stay in Hollywood, they go global. So, what we sell out of Hollywood, out of the United States, what the United States is thinking is now being spread around the planet. So we start making more alien movies. We start making more alien documentaries. We start integrating the word alien into the common language. So when aliens show up, it's not quite as detrimental. It's kind of like, huh,
We were
well, I
expecting
thought we
you.
might, I thought that might have been the case.
Yeah.
I wasn't that sure. That's amazing. Like, it doesn't go over like a fart in church. It goes over like you're out at a Sunday dinner, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like an entire podcast episode
Yeah,
right there
yeah,
on
right,
that.
right.
Um, okay, we have a couple more questions
Yeah.
from the peanut gallery. Uh, if you could meet any figure from Viking history or mythology, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
Oh man, it's a tough one because there's two.
Well, who would the two be?
All right,
The
so
top two.
the top two. The first one would be my ancestor Ragnar Lothbrok. I would want to go back in time and see this man in person and who he was, how he behaved, what he looked like, how he acted. Like I want to know everything about the man. I want to be able to ask him questions and see how he's my 38th direct descendant great grandfather. And when my DNA test came back, it came back 66% Viking, 66% Scandinavian. My bloodline, my direct bloodline descendant, I'm wearing his pennant right now, comes from Ragnar Lothbrok the Great and his son Bjorn Ironside, who conquered the Mediterranean. Yeah, like I
That
come from
sounds
a
like a
prestigious
boding
bloodline. Olaf the Great, he's the great king of Sweden. He was a king for almost 70 years.
I knew a man named Olaf once. Cool as shit. He
Cool.
had a foot and a half long braids
They're
off his
all
beard.
cool. Olafs are always cool,
He was
man.
the
I don't
only
care
guy I
who
ever
they
met
are.
that braided his beard.
Hell yeah. So that would be my number one. Would be Ragnar Lothbrok. I would want to ask him questions and get to know my true lineage, where I really truly come from. And then the second one would have to be the runner up to him, very close runner up too. It would have to be Odin because you included the word mythology. You included the word
Sure,
mythology, and when you
absolutely.
included the word mythology, that speaks to my God.
Wooded.
I would have to go ask Odin some questions. Be like, hey, come here, buddy. Come here, One Eye. We need to talk. You know what I mean? What's up with these ravens? What's up with these foxes? You know, these wolves. You know what I mean? Like, what's really happening here? Tell me, what's happening? What higher plane is there? Because I'm ready, man. I want to go. You know, I've done quite a bit in this life, and
You do that upside down meditation and get that runic alphabet to
there you go.
hit your brain just right.
That would be cool.
um, let's see here. I guess I'm gonna wrap up these other questions because they're getting a little wacky. But I do want to ask that is there anything you'd like to share? Anything that we didn't cover?
Mm, not sure.
So that sounds like we're at a good spot.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I want everybody to go check out Dan's podcast, the Angry Veteran Podcast, and we'll see you all later.